His feet slunk into the forward, endured let go by and he fell forward. His hand let lips cool at last. He raised his head. Where are we? He said. Cedric shook his head. He got up, followed Harry to the feet, and they walked around. They had left a forward ground completely. They had opposed traveled perhaps hundreds of years, for even the mountains surrounding the castle were very warm. They were standing still in a dark and overgrown valley. The black outline of a small church was visible beyond a large yellow tree to their right. A hill rose above them to their right. Harry could just make out the outline of a fine old house on the hillside. Cedric looking down at the dark coat and then up at Harry.
Did anyone tell you the cap was a portkey? He asked. Nope, said Harry. He was looking around the graveyard. It was completely silent and slightly eerie. Is this soon to be part of the task? I don't know, said Cedric. He sounded slightly nervous. What's out, you reckoned? Yeah, get Harry. Great that Cedric had meant the suggestion ran the head that him. They pulled out the wand. Harry kept looking around him. He had yet against the strange feeling that they were being watched. Someone's coming, he said sullenly.
Squinting intensely in the darkness, they watched the figure drawing nearer, walking steadily toward them, booting the graves. Garry could make out a face, but from the way it was walking and holding its arms, he could tell that it was carrying something. Where they were forked and wearing a hooded cloth pulled over the head to obscure the face, and several near the space between them closing. All that time he saw that the scene in the person's arms looked like a baby, or was it merely a bundle of ropes?
Harry launched his jaws slightly and glanced sideways at Cedric. Cedric shot him a quizzical look. They both turned back towards the approaching figure. It stood beside a towering mile head stone only 6 feet from them. A second, Harry and Cedric and the short figure simply looked at each other, and we all were in Harry's calm, exploded with pain. It was agony such as he had never felt in all his life. His own slipped from his fingers as he put his hands over his face. His knees buckled. He was on the ground and he could see nothing at all. His head was bound to slip open.
From far away, above his head, he heard a high, cold voice say, a swishing noise, and a second voice, which screeched the words to the night, Avada Kedavra. A blast of green light blazed through Harry's eyelids, and he heard something have fallen to the ground beside him. The pain in his scare reached such a pitch that he wretched, and then it diminished. Terrified of what he was about to see, he opened his stinging eyes. Cedric was lying spread-eagled on the ground beside him. He was dead.
For a second that contained an eternity, hair stared into Cedric's face. At his open grey eyes, blank and expressionless as the windows of a deserted house. At his half-open mouth, which looked slightly surprised, and that before Harry's mind had accepted what he was seeing, before he could feel anything but numb disbelief. He felt himself being pulled to his feet. The short man in the cloak had put down his bundle, laid his wand, and was dragging Harry towards the marble headstone. Harry saw the name upon it flickering in the wan light, before he was forced around and slumped against it.
Tom Riddle, the cloaked man was now conjuring zinc cords around Harry, tying him from next to ankles to the headstone. Harry called as shallow, fast breathing from the depths of the hood. He startled, and the man hit him with a hand that had a creature missing, and Harry realized who was under the hood. It was for male. He gasped.
But the Margaret, who had finished conjuring the ropes, did not reply. He was busy charting the tightness of the course, his fingers trembling uncontrollably trembling over the knot, was assuring that Harry was bound so tightly to the whetstone that he could move an inch. Vermeil Tyrant drew a length of some black material from the inside of his cloak and stuffed it rightly into Harry's mouth. That being scarce a word, he turned from Harry and carried away. Harry couldn't make a sound nor could he saw where Vermeulen had gone. He couldn't turn his head too, so beyond the headstone he could see only what was right in front of him.
Cedric's body was lying some 20 feet away, way beyond him. Glittering in the starlight lay the Trevisart cup. Harry's foot was on the ground at his feet. The bottle of rose that Harry had thought was a baby was close by at the foot of the grave. It seemed to be stirring fretfully. Harry watched it, and his scar seared with pain again. And he suddenly knew that he didn't want to see what was in those robes. He didn't want the bottle opened.
He kissed, he nosed at his feet. He looked down and saw a giant snake slithering through the grass, circling the headstone where he was tied. Wormsley's fast, easy breathing was grown loud again. It sounded as though he was forcing something heavy across the ground. Then he came back within Harry's range of vision, and Harry saw him pushing a stone coulter to the foot of the grave. It was full of what seemed to be water. Harry could hear it sloping around, and it was larger than any cauldron Harry had ever used, a great stone, very large enough for a full-grown man to see in.
The thing inside the bundle of ropes on the ground was churning more persistently, as though it was trying to free itself. No, Wormtail was busying himself at the bottom of the cauldron with a wand. Suddenly, the wee crackling flames beneath set. The large snake slithered away into the darkness. The liquid in the cauldron seemed to heat very fast. The surface began not only to bubble but also to send out fiery sparks, as though it were on fire. Steam was thickening, blurring the outline of Wormtail tending the fire. The movements beneath the cloak became more agitated, and Harry heard the high-cold voice again. Harry!
The whole surface of the water was alight with sparks now. It might have been interacted with demons. It is ready, master. Hi, said his cold voice. Wormtail pulled open the ropes on the ground, relieving what was inside them, and Harry let out a yell that was terrible. It the wad of material blocking his mouth.
The thing seemed almost helpless. It raised its thin arms, put that around Wormtail's neck, and Wormtail lifted it. As he did so, his hood flat back, and Harry saw the look of rebellion of Wormtail's weak face in the firelight as he carried the creature to the rim of the cauldron. For one moment, Harry saw the evil flat face illuminated in the sparks dancing on the surface of the potion, and then Wormtail launched the creature into the cauldron. Thus with a hiss, and it vanished below the surface. Harry heard in the fright Biddy hit the bottom with a soft thud.
Buddy hit the bottom with a soft thud. I let it down. Harry saw his scared bearing almost past endurance. Please, let it down. Wormtail was speaking. His voice shook. He seemed frightened, balanced his wit. He raised his hand, closed his eyes, and spoke to that night. Born of the Father, you could give it. You will render your soul. The serpents of the grave. It Harry's feet cracked. Horrified Harry watches as the dripping of dust rose into the air at Potter's command, and fell softly only the cauldron. The demon surface of the water broke, and hissed it that spikes in a different and turned a vivid, post-looking blue.
Body hit the bottom with a soft thud. Let it drown, Harry thought. His scar, burning almost past. Endurance, please. Let it drown. Wormtail was speaking. His voice shook. He seemed frightened beyond his wits. He raised his bond, closed his eyes, and spoke to the night. Bond of the Father, unknowingly, when you will renew your son.
The surface of the grave at Harry's feet cracked. A horrified Harry watched as a fine trickle of dust rose into the air at Wormtail's command and fell softly into the cauldron. The diamond surface of the water broke, and hissed and sent sparks in all directions, and turned a vivid, poisonous-looking blue.
And now Wormtail was whimpering. He pulled a long, thin, shining silver dagger from inside his robes. His voice put into petrified sobs. Flesh of the servant, willingly given, you will, rival you must. He stretched his right hand out in front of him, the hand with the missing finger. He gripped the dagger very tightly in the left hand, and swung it upwards.
Harry realized what Wormtail was about to a second before it happened. He closed his eyes as tightly as he could, but he could not block the scream that pierced the night that went through Harry, as though he had been stabbed with the dagger too. He heard something fall to the ground, heard Wormtail's anguish panting, then a sickening splash, as something was dropped into the cauldron. Harry couldn't bear to look, but the posh had turned a burning red. The life of it shone through Harry's closed eyelids.
Wormtail was gasping and moaning with agony, not until Harry, when Wormtail's anguished breath on his face, did he realize that Wormtail was right in front of him. Be blood of the enemy forcibly taken, you will resurrect your form. Harry could do nothing to prevent it. He was turned to tally, squeezing down, staring hopelessly at the ropes biting him. He saw the shining silver dagger shaking in Wormtail's remaining hand. He went its point, penetrated the crook of his right arm, and brought seeping down the sleeve of his torn robes. Wormtail, still panting with pain, fumbled in his pocket for a glass vial and held into Harry a cat so that a dribble of front fell into it.
He staggered back to the cauldron with Harry's blood. He poured it inside. The liquid within turned instantly a blinding white. Wormtail, his job done, dropped to his knees beside the cauldron, then slumped sideways and then on the ground, cradling the bleeding stump of his arm, gasping and sobbing. The cauldron was simmering, setting its diamond spark in all directions so blindingly bright that it turned all else to velvety blackness. Nothing happened. Let it have drowned, Harry thought. Let it have gone wrong.
And then suddenly the sparks emanating from the cauldron were extinguished. A surge of white steam billowed thickly from the cauldron, instead obliterating everything in front of Harry so hard he couldn't see Wormtail or Cedric or anything but vapor hanging in the air. It's done, Ron, he thought. It's done, please let be dead. But then through the mist in front of him he saw when an eyes surge of terror the dark outline of a man, tall and skeletally thin, rising slowly from inside the cauldron.
"Rope me," said the high. Cold was from behind the steam, and Wormtail, sobbing and moaning, still cradling his mutilated arm scrambled to pick up the black robes from the ground, got to his feet, reached up and pulled them one-handed over his master's head. The thin man stepped out of the cauldron, stepping and Harry stared black into the face that had haunted his nightmares for 3 years. Wiser than a skull with white livid scarlet eyes and nose that was as flat as snakes with slits for nostrils, Lord Voldemort had risen again.